Wake up, check your phone, scroll through your feed, order a ride, work online, shop online, stream a movie. Every click, every swipe, every tap, it's all tracked. It's all data, and that data is like the gold of the digital age. We live in a world dominated by technology, a world where digital platforms shape our lives in ways we don't even fully understand. It's a concept that might sound far-fetched, even a little scary, but it's an idea gaining traction among some economists, tech experts, and social scientists. Techno-feudalism suggests we are moving away from a purely capitalist system toward a new kind of social and economic order, one that shares some surprising similarities with the feudalism of the Middle Ages. So, in this video, we're going to break down what techno-feudalism is, explore how it works, and examine why it matters to you. But to understand this new system, we first need to take a step back in time. Imagine a world ruled by kings, lords, and knights. Feudalism was the dominant social and economic system in Europe during the Middle Ages. It was a world built on land ownership. Here's how it worked. At the very top, you had the king. He granted land, called fiefs, to his nobles. These nobles, also known as lords and vassals, swore loyalty and provided military service in return. Then you had the knights, the warriors who protected the land. And at the bottom, making up the vast majority of the population, were the peasants, or serfs. The manor was the heart of the feudal economy. It was the lord's estate, and it included everything from farmland to forests, to the village where peasants lived. Peasants worked the land, growing crops and raising livestock. Picture this. Life for a peasant was tough. They had very few rights. They were tied to the land, meaning they couldn't leave without the lord's permission. And they had to pay rent to the lord, usually in the form of crops or labor. Year in, year out, they toiled, and a large portion of their harvest went to the lord. We call this rent. The Catholic Church also played a huge role. It was a major landowner and had a lot of influence over the people's lives. Feudalism emerged after the fall of the Roman Empire. It was a time of instability, invasions, and weak central governments. People sought protection, and the lords offered that protection in exchange for labor and loyalty. It was a system born out of necessity. But over time, like all systems, feudalism began to decline. Several factors contributed to this. The Black Death, a devastating plague, wiped out a huge portion of the population. This led to labor shortages and weakened the power of the lords. Trade and the growth of towns and cities offered new opportunities for peasants, and many left the manors. Stronger central governments began to emerge, challenging the power of the feudal nobility. And so, a new economic system began to take hold: capitalism. Capitalism was based on private ownership of what we call the means of production, things like factories, machinery, and capital itself. Workers sold their labor for a wage. Businesses competed with each other in markets to produce and sell goods for a profit. The pursuit of profit became a major driving force. Unlike feudalism, capitalism, at least in theory, offered more opportunities for people to improve their social and economic standing. Now, fast forward to the 21st century. Some experts believe we're seeing another major economic shift. A shift toward something called techno-feudalism. But in this new system, power isn't based on land or even traditional capital. It's based on the control of what we call technological capital. Let's break down what that means. Data, vast amounts of information collected about our online behavior, our preferences, our relationships, every click, every like, every search we make online. Algorithms. Complete sets of rules that determine what we see online, how information is presented to us, and even what choices are available to us on these platforms. They are the gatekeepers of the digital world. Digital platforms. These are the online spaces where we interact, shop, work, and connect with others. Think Amazon, Facebook, Google, and many others. Hardware. Vast data centers with the servers and hardware needed to run the technology. Electricity. The large data centers are starting to need massive amounts of electricity to run them. Technology companies are even starting to plan and build their own nuclear-powered reactors to run them. To understand just how different techno-feudalism is, let's consider what constituted ownership in each system. In feudalism, it was all about land. Whoever owned the land held the power. In capitalism, power came from owning the means of production like factories and machinery. But in techno-feudalism, we're seeing a new form of ownership altogether. The ownership of data, algorithms, and the digital platforms themselves. This is the essence of technology capital, and it's what gives the new lords their power. So, who controls this new capital? Let's call them the tech lords. These are the tech giants, the companies that own and operate the major digital platforms: Amazon, Google, Facebook, now Meta, and a handful of others. And what about the rest of us? We, the users, who provide the data, who generate the content, who make these platforms valuable. We are, in a sense, the serfs. We're dependent on these platforms for many aspects of our daily lives, and we're subject to their rules, their algorithms, and their ever-changing terms of service. Then you have what some call the vassal capitalists. They are the traditional businesses that are becoming increasingly reliant on digital platforms to reach customers. They pay for access, for advertising, for data, essentially paying rent to the tech lords to participate in the digital economy. Think of that small business that can only really thrive by selling through Amazon. We often think of these platforms as being free. We don't pay to use Google search or scroll through Facebook feeds. But in reality, we're paying with something more valuable: our data. Every click, every like, every search is tracked, analyzed, and used to generate profit for the tech lords. In this digital landscape, our data is no longer just a byproduct of our online activities. It has become a valuable commodity, bought, sold, and processed like a raw material. Data brokers you've never even heard of collect and trade information about you, and it's all used to create targeted advertising and other products. We are, in a sense, raw materials in the data factories of the tech lords. This is another form of rent. We pay not with money, but with our information, our attention, and ultimately, our behavior. Now, here's where artificial intelligence comes in. You can think of AI as the engine that powers this whole system. Let's talk about what AI does today. Behavioral modification. AI algorithms are designed to personalize our experiences online. They track our behavior, learn our preferences, and use that information to keep us engaged, to show us targeted ads, and to influence our decisions, often in ways we're not even aware of. It's like having a personal salesperson following you around 24/7, whispering suggestions in your ear. Market control. On platforms like Amazon or Google, AI algorithms determine which products we see first, which search results are displayed, and even what news articles are promoted. This gives these companies immense control over the flow of information and commerce. They are the gatekeepers, deciding what gets seen and what doesn't. Free labor. Every time we like a post, write a review, or search for something online, we're generating valuable data. This data is being used to train and improve the AI algorithms, making them even better at predicting our behavior and extracting value from us. We are, in effect, providing free labor that makes these systems more powerful, like worker bees unknowingly building a hive for someone else. And in the near future, AI will become even more powerful. Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI, a type of AI that will perform any intellectual task that a human can. And beyond that, Artificial Superintelligence, or ASI, which will surpass human intelligence in all aspects. Combined with advanced robotics, this will lead to further job displacement and an even greater concentration of power in the hands of those who control the technology. Let's look at some real-world examples of how this is already playing out. Amazon. It's not just an online store, it's a vast digital marketplace where sellers pay to reach customers. Amazon's algorithms decide which products get promoted, and the company collects a hefty share of every transaction. And, as many sellers have experienced, Amazon's fees and rules can change, making it harder and harder to make a profit. They control the marketplace, and they can squeeze the sellers whenever they want. Amazon is a prime example of a walled garden. Once you're in their ecosystem, whether as a buyer or a seller, it's difficult to leave. They control the entire experience, from product discovery to payment to delivery. Facebook, Meta. Their algorithms create our news feeds, decide what content we see, and target us with ads based on our personal data. They have enormous influence over what information we consume and how we perceive the world. And if you've been on Facebook for a while, you've probably noticed more ads and less content from your friends and family. It's not as fun as it used to be. Facebook is another walled garden. They want to keep you on their platform for as long as possible, generating data and ad revenue. They make it difficult to export your data or to connect with users on other platforms. Google. Their search algorithms shape our access to information. They control what we find when we search for something online, and they make billions from ads targeted to our interests. And have you noticed how many more sponsored results you get on Google these days? It's harder to find what you're looking for. These platforms tend to get worse over time as they focus more on extracting value from users and less on providing a good experience. It's the unpaid bill for all the so-called free services. These walled gardens are another example of this. They're designed to keep users locked in, maximizing the tech lords' control and profit, making it difficult for users to switch to competing platforms or to take their data with them. Now, you might be thinking, is this really like feudalism? Are we actually becoming serfs again? There are certainly differences. We have more choices today, at least in theory. We can choose to leave a platform, although that's becoming increasingly difficult as these platforms become more integrated into our lives, and as they create these walled gardens around their services. There is still some level of competition in the tech industry, although it's often between giants. And of course, technology has brought many benefits and opportunities, but the parallels are worth considering. A concentration of power in the hands of a few powerful entities, just like in feudal times. These entities are extracting rent from those who use their platforms, similar to how lords collected rent from peasants. Social mobility might be declining as it becomes harder to compete with established tech giants and as advanced AI displaces human labor. And we're seeing the creation of a new social hierarchy, with tech lords at the top, serfs at the bottom, and vassal capitalists in between. So what does this all mean? Techno-feudalism is a complex concept, and it's still evolving. But it's an idea that helps us understand the profound changes that are happening in our economy and our society, particularly in the form of digital platforms, becomes increasingly powerful. It raises important questions about inequality, about privacy, about the very nature of work and human agency in the digital age. It's crucial that we start thinking critically about these issues now. What kind of future do we want to create? How can we ensure that technology serves humanity rather than the other way around? What do you think? Are we heading towards techno-feudalism? Or are we already there? Let us know in the comments below. Want to unlock the power of AI? Our free newsletter gives you the tips, trends, AI news, and tools you need to succeed. Sign up with the link in the description below. Your journey doesn't stop here. Watch our next video, right here, and keep building your knowledge.